Last Thursday, ACARA, which is the Australian Curriculum Assessment and Reporting Authority, well, they released proposed changes to the national curriculum following a review ordered by the Morrison government last year. Some of the changes, including the elevation of Indigenous studies across a number of subjects and the removal of the study of ancient Rome and Greece from the Year 7 history syllabus, well, have caused a stir to say the least. But how did all of these changes come about? What say do you have in what gets taught in Australian schools? And most of all, given we're told that there are only draft curriculum changes at this stage, what happens next? Joining me now from Melbourne is Senior Research Fellow at the Australian Catholic University, Dr Kevin Donnelly, and from Sydney, Executive Director of the Menzies Research Centre, Ms Credlin. Kevin, I'll start with you. For people at home who are not aware, ACARA is an independent statutory authority established way back in 2008 by the Rudd government, all about having national curriculum, national standards, testing regimes like NAPLAN. It involves the Federal Education Minister along with all the state and territory ministers. Why do they have well, not them, why does ACARA have so much power here, Kevin?
Well, I think it's called the fiscal vertical imbalance, and what that means is the federal government gets most of the taxation money, so they have a big pot of money which they then give to the states and territories only if the states and territories will agree with what's coming out of Canberra. If you look at ACARA, it's made up of a lot of bureaucrats, many of them with no experience of the classroom, no curriculum background, but it's a bit like the old industrial relations club. They're all in it together. They all protect one another. They never take criticism. And frankly, ministers can come and go, but the bureaucrats in ACARA will just keep rolling along.
Well, just on that point, right, so this draft curriculum will stay draft until July. There's a consultation period and these ministers sit around the table and agree. Now, you know and I know they'll all say their piece, but in the end, there won't be much of a change. And when someone's queried down the track, why did you let that go through? They'll say, well, I was only one vote in the room. Is that what happened? Is that what's going to happen next? I mean, tell us how we can get involved, how mums and dads could get involved to speak their mind about these changes.
Well, there needs to be a lot more activism. Sorry,
Kevin?
who was that to? Sorry. Yeah, there needs to be a lot more activism. Parents need to get involved. And, the Liberal government, when I did the 2014 curriculum review with Ken Wiltshire, all the recommendations were ignored by Christopher Pyne. And whether it's Labor or Liberal governments at the moment, there seems to be a lack of understanding and unwillingness to get involved in what John Howard called the battle of ideas. I mean, the reality is the cultural left, as I call it, they've taken control, the long march, and Liberal so-called conservative governments need to get a backbone.
Nick, you've written really powerfully about this in The Australian today, and you made the point that the history curriculum makes 8 references to Islam, but only 5 to Christianity. And indeed, the real change I saw in the documents out on Thursday last week was an emphasis away from Australia being a country with a Judeo-Christian underpinning, a statement of fact in my view, to a real denial of this. And in fact, a real push to make Australia, reshape Australia as absolutely secular. What does this mean for how we understand our place in the world and our history?
Well, what it means is you get a sort of rough idea of what Australian values are, and a very rough idea in this civics curriculum, and fed into that through the history curriculum. But there's no understanding of where this came from, and it's so important to understand where it came from, and the fact that, values like egalitarianism, treating your neighbour as yourself, they are Christian values that came through the classical liberal tradition from which Australia was founded. And these are rich in our society today. But, I mean, the absurdity of it, Peter, that Christianity remains the fastest growing religion in the world. But if you take the curriculum on this, the view on this curriculum, you wouldn't think Christianity had had any influence since 1750. It's completely... I wanted to find some redeeming qualities in this, but I really couldn't. The more you read into this, the worse it becomes. And the complete absence of any kind of balance, if you like, let alone a recognition of what Australia actually is and what sort of citizens we want in this country, is appalling. I mean, I really think that it's got to the point where you've got to throw it away and start again. At least the civics and history part of it. Maybe some of the rest can be rescued. But this is just, words can't express how bad it is.
You say civics is beyond redemption. Warren Mundine, Nick Cater, says the Indigenous history component in the new curriculum amounts to indoctrination. Is throwing it away and starting it again the only answer? And two, is that likely to happen?
Well, I think it is, because they start by looking at everything through the prism of Aboriginal or Indigenous or First Nations disadvantage. Everything is about invasion and keeping Indigenous people out of society. Look, and that's fine. I mean, sure, that has to be part of the curriculum. We've got some unfinished business there. But, it completely ignores so much about Australia that made it successful. And, principally the fact that it's a free country where people can do their best, make their best better, wherever they come from. And that includes Indigenous people. So I think that the problem with this document, Peter, is that they just start from the wrong premise. And then the further problem is that it's the relativism in it. So, for instance, in Year 3 English, there are 33 things that you're supposed to learn by the end of Year 3 English, including camera angles, to interpret camera angles on advertisements to see what power imbalances they put in. And then number 33, wait for it, is joined up writing, as they call it, or cursive script, But there's no priority there at all. So I really feel sorry for the teachers that are given this document and have got to make some kind of sense of it in the classroom.
Kevin, I'll have you come back because I want to get into the issues with maths. We know that's where we fall down on international tables time and time again. And there's even indoctrination in maths, if you can believe it. I would have thought it was pretty straightforward, but it's not. Kevin Donnelly, Nick Cater, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.